Everyone, today we'll be discussing about the Python inheritance solutions. So the first question is area calculation. Ria works as maths tutor in weekends to teach the orphan students in her NGO. Today's topic was area calculation of different shapes. Before heading to the class, she thought writing a code to calculate the area of different shapes and presenting it to the kids would be more interactive and kids would enjoy the session. Being a software engineer, she starts writing a code to calculate the area of the circle, rectangle, and triangle. Let's help Ria in completing the code. So we have to create two classes. First class is shape with an attribute called area, and we have a method called compute area, and since the area of the shape is undefined, it has to be assigned as 0. Then we have to create a circle class which inherits shape with the following attribute radius, and here also we have to override the compute area method to compute the area of the circle, which is pi r square. Then we have to create a class called rectangle with length and breadth attributes, and here also we should override the compute area method to calculate the length of the rectangle, which is length into breadth. And finally we have to create the third class called triangle, which also inherits shape class with the attributes base and height, and we should override the compute area method to compute the area of the triangle, which is half into base into height. Then we have to get the option for shape to compute the area and attribute according to the shape option. Then we have to calculate the area and print the area. For pi we have to use math.py, and sample input, the first line of the input is n. We have to read the radius of the circle, and rectangle we should read the length and breadth, and for triangle we should get the base and height. Then output consists of area of the shape. Let us take a look at the sample input. So sample input, circle, and the radius is 1. So if radius is 1, then we have to compute the pi r square. Similarly triangle, rectangle. So the words circle, triangle, rectangle, that corresponds to the type of object that we have to create. Now let us just dive into the solution. So first we have to create a class called shape, and shape has the attribute area. So we have to create a constructor init self area. So self dot area equal to area. Then it has a method called compute area. So compute area, and this should assign the area of the circle as area of the shape as 0, since the area of the shape is undefined. Next we have to create a class called circle that extends shape, and it has the following attribute, which is radius. So self dot radius is equal to radius. Then we have to override the compute area method. So compute area method, here the area of circle has to be calculated. So area of circle is equal to math.py. We have to import math. So math.py into radius into radius, and we have to use self dot. So self dot radius into radius. Next we have to create a class called rectangle, and that also inherits shape class, and rectangle has two attributes, which is length and breadth. So self dot length is equal to length, self dot breadth is equal to breadth. Then we have to compute the area. So def compute area, so self dot area. We are able to access self dot area because it is a public attribute that is present inside shape, and all the classes inherit shape. So that is why I'm able to access self dot area directly. So area of rectangle is length into breadth. So self dot length into self dot breadth. And finally we have to create the last class called triangle. It also inherits shape class. Then we have to create the constructor, and it has two attributes, which is base and height. So self dot base is equal to base, self dot height equal to height. Then we have to override the compute area method, and self dot area is equal to area of our triangle is half, which is 0.5 into base into height. That's it. Now we have to read the input. So it will contain n, so int of input of n, int of input of, then for I in range of n we have to read the value. So let us name which is input. So if name is equal to circle, then we are going to read just the radius alone, and we have to create the object of circle class. So circle of radius is a float value, so put off. Then finally circle dot compute area. We have to calculate the area of that particular circle, then print the area, and we have to print the area as an integer. So int of circle dot area. So similarly else elif if the name is equal to rectangle, then we have to create an object of rectangle class. So rectangle, for rectangle we need length and breadth. So float of input of one for the length and float of input of the other for the breadth. Now we have to calculate the area. So compute area, then print the area converted to integer. So again, so rectangle dot area, else it would be a triangle. So triangle equal to triangle, and triangle also needs two attributes, which is the base and the height. Now we have to use the triangle object to compute the area, and we have to print the area in integer format. So int of triangle dot area. So that's all. So we have created a hierarchy of inheritance. So this is called as hierarchical inheritance. We have one superclass shape and it is extended by three classes: circle, rectangle and triangle. Now let us copy the sample input and test our program. So I'm going to copy the input, and one more thing I missed out. So the values are given as a form of a single line separated by space. So for that, what we have to do is, instead of reading it directly, we have to use the split. So I'm going to change our program. Since here our program, the sample input is in the form of, the sample input is given directly in a line by line fashion separated by a space, we have to make use of our split function. So if the name is circle, then my data, let it be a list. So input dot split, so it will be split. So I'm sorry, I should make it here. So my data input dot split, and the value is a space, that is our delimiter, and the name will have the attribute my data of 0. So my data of 0 corresponds to the string, whether it is a circle or a rectangle, and the remaining attributes correspond to the value. So here, instead of input of, I am going to convert it into my data of 0, my data of 1, if it in this case of a circle. If it is a rectangle, then input of should be, there will be two values, so it will be my data of 1 and my data of 2. And similarly here, it will be my data of 1 and my data of 2. So float of my data of 2. Right. So why have I modified the way we are reading the input? Because in the sample input it is given in a single line. For each line we have to read the data. So now I am going to run this program. Run this, and to open my console. There, I am getting the output 3, 377, 200, 254. Yes, it matches my sample output. Now let us take a look at the second question. So second question is about bank account. Prakash is currently working in accounts department. He is associated with the task to display the account details of the employees depending on two choices to be made by the user: savings, which is choice number 1, choice number 2, it is current account. He asked the development team to build a code that would make his work easier. Imagine yourself working in the development team and you have to write this code. Write code as per Prakash requirement. We have to create a class called account with the following attributes: account name, account number and bank name. It should have a method called a display. Then we have to create a current account which will inherit the account class. It has a single attribute TIN number. Again, we should override the display method that displays the TIN number. Then we have to create another class called savings account with an attribute called organization name, and we should override the display method to display the organization name. And input format, the first input corresponds to n, and for each n we should read the account type, name, account number, bank name, organization name or TIN number according to the type of the account. Let us check the sample input so that it will be clear. So look at this, the way the input is given, it is given as a comma separated value, and the first denotes the type of account, so either current or savings account, then the name, then the account number, then the organization name followed by the TIN number or the organization name depending upon the type of account. So let us dive into the solution. Right, so we have to create a class called account with the attributes account name, account number and bank name. Account name, account number and bank name. So self dot account name is equal to account name, self dot account number is equal to account number, then self dot bank name is equal to bank name. Then we have to create a display method that displays the account details, and the format of account details is not given, so let us check the sample output. So the output, this is the format, so account name space a colon space the name, similarly the rest of the details. Right, so def, the function name, method name is display, so display, and it should display 3 details followed by /n. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to format it. So format, the first thing is self dot, so here it should also have a string, so it should be acc name, so acc space name space colon space the value followed by account number space colon space the value followed by bank space name space colon space the value. So self dot account name comma self dot account number comma self dot bank name. So this will do. So that is about our account class. Now we have to create our next class, which is current account. So class current account, which inherits the account class, then we have, so here we have to read all the account details that is in the account class also. So I'm going to copy this. So in our previous discussion we have already gone through the use of super. So super of dot init of account name bank name, and the fourth is the extra attribute, that is the TIN number. So TIN number, so that is the attribute of this class. So self dot TIN number is equal to TIN number. Then def display, so display we will be displaying the account details. So print so here we'll be using super dot display because we have to display the details of account number, account name and bank name, and then we'll be, so I'm going to add a /n here since there will be other details that are available. So here it is going to be a TIN number, so TIN number, number space a colon space dot format self dot TIN number. the rest of the details we will be fetching it from our display method. Then we have to create another class called savings account. It also inherits the account class, and def underscore init self. It also needs the account number, account name and bank name from the superclass, followed by the organization name, which is the another attribute for this class. Then again we have to invoke the super. So super of dot init of account name, account number, then self dot org name is equal to organization name. Then similarly we have to invoke the display method. So display super dot display, and then we have to print the organization name. So organization name, we have to look at the format. So organization name org space name, so capital org space name space colon space dot format self dot organization name. So we have created all the three classes. Now let us check the input format. So input format, it contains the number of input as usual, and the values are comma separated, and we have to read the first value, and based on the first value we have to switch between the current account or savings account. Now let us implement it. So n is equal to int of input of for I in range of n. We have to read the input, so let it be my data. So that is equal to input dot split. So input dot split of the delimiter is a comma. Now I have a list of values. So if my data of 0 is equal to current, which means I have to create so let it current account. So account is equal to current account of, so how many details does it need? Current account, it needs 1 2 3 4 details. So I'm going to pass 4 values, which is my data of 1, my data of 2, my data of 3, and my data of 4. Else definitely it will be a savings account. So account is equal to savings account. Again, savings account also needs the same value, so I'm going to copy it and paste it. Then finally account dot display to display the account details. So we have read the input, and we have also invoked the display method to display the output. Now let us check whether it is working properly. So I'm going to run this. Now this is the input. I'm going to copy the input. Right, so there is a little bit of alignment problem, so we have to address that. Only then the test case will be a pass. Now let us check it. So there is an extra /n, which is because I have added the /n there to differentiate the type of accounts. I'm going to remove that now, and there is a space in the bank name. So if we remove that, then everything will be perfect. So this is the bank name space, and I'm going to remove this /n. Now let us rerun it so that it will match our output. Right, so now it has matched our output. So this is the account name, account number, bank name, and TIN number. So it is the current account. Here we are getting organization name, which is savings account, again a tin number, so it's a current account, and finally current account. So we are getting the proper output. So thank you for joining the discussion.